I'm going to go over how we increased our closing rate, and this is going to be very important for you if you're at least 30K a month. If you make less money than that, you're not really making money in your credit repair or business funding business yet. So you probably don't have as many opportunities to even make a reasonable difference when it comes to the income you're making. So go ahead and watch this. If you want some like validation authority, go look at my client success stories playlist. Watch a video on how we helped Ali scale to over 100K a month. So yeah, with that being said, let's get straight to it. So I'm gonna share my screen, and I think this is gonna really be insightful for those of y'all that are, if you're doing at least 30, 40, 50K a month. So we're gonna talk about how we increase our closing rate. So just to be transparent, so our sales team's closing rate for our credit repair and business funding offers, they tanked randomly. I didn't know what was going on. This happened in March. So this is a couple months ago at this point. This video is going to be out probably June. So it's March, I mean May at the time I'm recording it. So in March, for whatever reason, our closing rate just tanked. I didn't know what happened. So it kind of pissed me off too, specifically because we were rounding up quarter one. So I was like, this is not good. We got to figure out what's going on. We got to figure out why the bleeding's happening. We got to stop the bleeding. You know, I thought maybe we coincidentally had bad leads coming in that month for whatever reason. I thought maybe there was fatigue with our services, but I had to realize that it was our own fault for various reasons, specifically my fault. I'm not going to blame my appointment setter, closer, dispute department. I'm not going to blame marketing or nobody, right? I take ownership because I have to figure it out as a business owner. So I confirmed it and, I addressed the changes and I'm going to tell you just to let you know it's been good so far as we're in quarter two and going to be rounding up quarter two. So that's why I wanted to do the video because I think it'll be very insightful and very helpful for y'all. Maybe add a couple thousand, few thousand more to what you got going on per month. So pretty much before a lead comes into our situation before they hop on a call, this is the journey that happens. So just to let y'all know, we do have many different mechanisms for clients to actually come into our ecosystem. It goes back to the God-made marketing system that I talk about. So when it comes to getting new leads, getting people in your ecosystem, it's really going to come down to just ads, content, cold outreach, and then if you want to add a subheading, you could put lead magnets under there. But the main three are going to be organic content, run-it ads, and cold outreach. So keep that in mind. So the God-made marketing system, if you don't know what that is, this is the CAC credit bulletproof scaling system that I teach about and I really live by when it comes to my business. So someone becomes a new engager, you see at the top, you can do reels, you can run ads, you can do YouTube, right? So content and ads, you can do cold outreach like I added as well, right? So just keep that in mind. That's kind of the mechanism that happens when someone wants to become a client. So when they actually book a call, this is our journey for what happens. So pretty much they're gonna get a confirmation text and an email. So we use a Go High Level. So just to let y'all know, give y'all context. So they'll get a confirmation text email right away with a top of funnel type of video that basically explains the service, whether it's business funding, if it's for credit repair, or it's even for mentorship, right? Those of y'all that's watching this, you guys would be in the leads list of basically for mentorship. So it basically explains the service generally and our process, and it basically serves as a nurturing sales asset right away, right? Our YouTube is very very powerful when it comes to nurturing people, when it comes to converting people, and I'm going to talk about the new way versus the old way and how we had to respect the new way when it came to increasing our closing rate, which in turn obviously leads to more money. So 24 hours before the call, they're going to be emailed a bottom of funnel type of content. So what bottom of funnel type of content is, I have other videos going over bottom of funnel type of content, but this is basically like personal stories and case studies. And in this specific case, we usually send out case studies. So we let people know that we can actually do what we say we're doing, right? So if you have a credit repair service, you probably should have results showing that you say you're doing what you're doing. If you have a funding service, same thing. If you have a mentorship, same thing. I told y'all in the beginning, go watch my video on how we helped Ali scale to over 100K a month, right? So, case studies, results. So that's 24 hours before the call. So you see they're being nurtured before they hop on the call. So then 1 hour before the call actually happens, they get a reminder again, the Zoom link, all that. And then they get some educational middle of funnel type of content. So solving a problem, pain point that they might have, right? So this is basically the customer journey. This is what happens. So just keep that in mind. This is what it is. One thing that I will say, commercial break. If you want a video basically talking about how we increase our show up rate, comment down below and then I could drop a video on that as well. I know those of y'all that are at, that 30 to 50K at least per month level, that's going to be beneficial for you because as you get more, when you're under that mark, like around 20K and, less, you're doing some sales calls and all that, but this type of information is more powerful for people that make like actual money in their business. Like no disrespect, I'm not trying to be funny, but yeah, y'all let me know below. So our issues, we have many issues. So just for context, I don't do the credit repair sales calls. So when I'm talking about my sales team, this is literally my closers that handle those calls. Right? I don't do those. I do some of the business funding ones, and they do some of the business funding ones as well. But credit repair, I'm fully hands off from that department. So I was being told that clients were not good leads, which is, it's truly, sometimes this is the truth, right? But it's not the case all the time. But that wasn't the case after I did some more digging. And, we were losing out on a lot of money for about a week or so before I was like, yo, we got to figure out a way to stop this bleeding. You feel me? So I was on an accountability call with one of my mentors, and he asked me, like, what were my closers saying in the EOS reports? EOS meaning end of service report. Like they're after they finish working for the day, what's their report, right? And then in my head, to me, I was like, I don't have them doing that. So I didn't have an answer when he asked me that because I wasn't making my closers do it. And it's crazy because when it comes to my dispute department and my marketing department, I make them send me EOS reports as far as what they did for the day, what's working, what's not working, that type of thing. So it was like a light bulb moment for me because I'm like, why am I not doing this when I'm having issues with our closing rate? So that was a light bulb moment for me. And then when we implemented it, I basically created a daily survey that my closers have to answer at the end of the day. And basically, it's essentially it goes deeper than this, but I just want to include some questions. How are the calls today, right? How much of my YouTube have they watched? That's very important. That's very, very important. When we get into the issues of what was going on, we're gonna see why that question is very important. How serious do we think that they are? Were they financially qualified? Obviously, right? So after implementing the EOS reports for about a week, I noticed that we had two major clear issues in our business. So one issue was that a lot of these leads were just coming into the sales cycle way too early, right? So that's a common issue, and it's a common issue that was happening here. So we needed to respect the new sales cycle versus the old sales cycle, right? Let me show y'all real quick. So when we look at the old way, look at it. This is the old way. YouTube video, they find you with the YouTube video, they book a call, and then you close the lead, right? This might be a dramatic version in a sense. Obviously, even the old way, maybe a few years ago, a couple years ago, trust was a little bit higher. So it might not have just been this three-step process. Maybe you still need to do a follow-up call or whatever. But my main point in showing y'all this diagram is you got to embrace the new way of the sales cycle, the new way of how people are going to be closed by you, right? And if you're at that revenue mark where you're stuck at that maybe 30 to 50K a month mark, this might be something that you have to take into consideration if you do want to continue to scale further. So the new way is someone finds your YouTube video or they find you however they find you. Now you got to include a lead magnet, a helpful lead magnet. A lead magnet that we recently installed is deleting collections, which funnels into free call, business funding, readiness quiz, different things you can implement within your offer. And then also for mentorship, as you're watching, it's how to get high paying leads, right? That's a lead magnet as well. So then you throw them into a nurturing email campaign. They book a call, but this is the new way, remember? So boom, they don't close right away. So now you gotta wait. You gotta continue to nurture them. Okay, cool. They find your YouTube again. They're watching YouTube videos. Maybe they were in your email campaign, and your email campaigns are including links to your YouTube videos. So it could be top of funnel content, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. So top of funnel, just general, widespread information. Middle of funnel, obviously solving their pain point problems, and then bottom of funnel, personal stories. Also talking about your mindset, and then best practices, and then obviously case studies. So then they come across your YouTube again. So then they book a call again, but they don't close again, right? Because trust is such at its lowest peak, like the bar is super, super low. So then life happens. This is just a new way. Life happens. Shit happens. Maybe something happened to them. Maybe something happens to their family. Maybe something happened to them, right? You never know. Then they watch more YouTube. Then they book a call again, and then you finally close them, right? So you have to respect the new way of the sales cycle. And me, I already understand that. I already understand that there's a sales cycle. I already understand, the 7 hour rule. I already understand all these things. I made videos on these topics in previous videos, but it was just taken into context the moment at which they came across us. They watched a couple YouTube videos. They just recently subscribed to my YouTube, so they weren't nurtured enough. That's one thing. They just hopped in way too early. I know my YouTube videos be so like captivating and empowering. It makes people just want to be like, oh shoot, I gotta, book the call. But sometimes people gotta be nurtured more. So I'm saying this to y'all as y'all watching this. If you feel like you're in that plateau right now, you might need to reassess the sales cycle when people come into the sales cycle. And I would implement these EOS reports at the end of each workday for your closers. If you don't have a sales team, maybe you're not making a lot of money yet, you know. But if it's just you right now, implement an EOS report where you're figuring out these things, right? And assessing what's going on. So yeah, we need to respect the new sales cycle versus the old sales cycle. And just to be just to be frank, they needed to know, like, and trust us even more. Because we do have results, we have undeniable proof of everything that we claim, but we're in a new sales cycle economy, so we just gotta respect that. Just gotta charge it to the game. It was a lot of leads, a lot of these leads when we were implementing these EOS reports. A lot of these leads simply found my YouTube very, very recently, right? I'm talking about less than a couple months, you know. In the past, what I would see is, okay, I've been watching your YouTube for super, super long. These are one call close, people right away. There's not much of a disconnect. So what was going on here was that these people were coming in too early. So as a result, they didn't fully know, like, and trust me yet, no matter how good our services are. To help that too, like I said, we implemented new lead magnets so that they spent more time with us before hopping on a call. Again, this is what I'm saying. When you're at that level where you're scaling, you gotta just always try new shit, right? You can't just do one type of thing where it's just like, okay, this is just my landing page, that's it. You have to think of new ways to reinvent the wheel and new ways to acquire that traffic. So you can't just have you can't have how do I say it? A one-dimensional way of acquiring these new leads. So, okay, go book a call. You can install something with ManyChat, but you got to have useful lead magnets as well. Test that out. Test out different shit if you want to grow, if you want to scale, right? That's just what it is. Any successful business that has scaled to any decent, respectable amount of money has tried a lot of different shit, has probably failed more times than you, right? So you got to think about it like, let me see how I can reinvent the wheel. So we had to embrace a two call close and treat those leads that didn't know, like, and trust me yet as basically like an intro educational call and then throw them in an email campaign. So when we respect the new way of the sales cycle, we understand that, okay, they might be right here versus in the past, they were right here and we were about to close. So they might be right here, they don't close yet. We're going to just educate them on that call and then do more YouTube videos and do more lead magnets and do more outreach and do more, just do more stuff. It'll fall through if they're qualified. So yeah, we put them in an email nurturing campaign that would direct back to the YouTube. Give them lead magnets, consume more content, speed up the sales cycle. Basically, what I was just saying. As you are scaling, like I said, you need many lead nurturing assets, sales assets, trust assets. You got to think of yourself like an octopus. So, how many tentacles can I be putting to where I'm attracting all these different types of situations, you know? And you got to remember that what used to work back in the day is not going to fly anymore when it comes to building trust. So, you just got to go above and beyond. And this is going to continue to happen. So, if you're in business, if you want to not be stuck in business, you're going to have to put in that work. So, the second issue that we had that I noticed was a messaging issue. So, this was just a communication type of thing in my marketing. So, the way that I articulate in my content, it basically attracts some people that already have a level of knowledge about consumer law. So, this was more related to the credit repair offer, not as much funding issue, but this was more for the credit repair service, right? So the way that I talk, the way that I articulate, you know, I know about these consumer laws, and that attracts, you know, those people that know about it as well. So a lot of these leads, they were coming onto the calls, and then my closers didn't really know how to answer some of the specific questions, scenarios that they were going through. So that kind of was like off-putting, if you will. So it felt like they knew more than my closers, I feel like. And when it came to like our aggressive follow-up sequence, it didn't really matter because they already had the mindset that they already knew more than us. So that's a thing that I had to fix over time as I was, you know, recording my videos more. I'm just being conscious of that. And then I made sure that they got those questions so that I can kind of educate my closers about it. And I have private videos answering some of those questions for them so that when they hop on these calls, they're more educated. So, like I said, that's my fault. I have to take that to the chest. That's my fault. So, lessons learned. Identify the bleeding and stop it quick. I didn't let this go on for multiple months and multiple months and multiple months. I was like, yo, I need to figure out what's going on. I got the help and I had the light bulb moment, right? Always take accountability, right? It's always your fault as a business owner. It wasn't my closer's fault. It wasn't the appointment setter. It wasn't a media buyer. It wasn't any dispute specialist. It wasn't nobody's fault but mine. You got to respect that certain leads that seem bad aren't bad. It's not always that the leads are bad. It just might be the stage that they're at in the sales cycle. So they might be too early in the sales cycle, like I said, and they could be qualified. They might be high quality, and maybe they think they know more than your sales team, you know, just based off of how you articulate and you attract above average intelligent people. So you got to keep that into consideration as well. One thing too, focusing on sales because obviously I was looking at our closing rate and how it like just disrespectfully tanked. I was wondering like what was going on, right? So by me focusing on sales, that helped me understand that we had a marketing issue as well, right? Because we had a messaging marketing issue. So I had to rewind and be like, okay, cool, I got to be careful how I'm articulating. And I got to articulate better to my sales team, right? So marketing messaging needs to be more polished. So I made some tweaks over time in future videos for the credit repair mentorship and funding offers as well. Implementing relevant lead magnets goes a long way, and it might be that slight edge. If y'all have read the book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, you know that's a very good book. Shout out to that book. So it might be the slight edge you need in gaining the trust of turning the leads into paying customers. So yeah, if you want help structuring your credit repair business, funding business as a real business with the proper systems and implementing some of these best practices, you can book a call in the description and we'll see if we can help you scale. With that being said, y'all have a blessed one.